You think you're just being paranoid. But then, without warning, your mind screams, something's off. It's not intuition. It's an ancient algorithm hardwired into your brain. We assume communication begins with words, but your brain has been eavesdropping long before anyone opens their mouth. It's called nonverbal cue processing, and it's your brain's version of a private detective. This internal detective works over time, piecing together micro-expressions, body language, and environmental nuances. It's a silent opera unfolding behind your eyes, and you're the only audience. Or are you just seeing phantoms in the mist? Our neural circuitry has evolved to process nonverbal information incredibly fast. According to Dr. John Gottman, renowned for his work on micro-expressions, these fleeting facial movements reveal emotions in as little as January 25th th of a second. Your brain is a frantic air traffic controller, managing a constant influx of nonverbal signals. It decodes subtle muscle twitches, eye movements, and shifts in posture. But this isn't just about detection, it's about prediction. Your brain is a predictive processor, constantly forecasting future events based on the current stream of nonverbal data. It's crafting a narrative, a story of what might come next. But here's where the firmware glitches. Your brain is so adept at this predictive processing that it sometimes jumps to conclusions, creating a cognitive mirage. It's an evolutionary trade-off, speed over accuracy. When your brain's detection system interprets a mismatch between expected and observed behavior, it raises an internal alarm. This is the neurological tax of constant vigilance. Over time, it can lead to cognitive friction where your brain's rapid predictions clash with reality. Are you really sensing danger, or is your brain just overclocking its processors? This is the fatal error, the disconnect between perception and reality. Yet, in this cognitive frenzy lies an unexpected advantage. Your brain's predictive prowess can be harnessed for acute situational awareness, a finely tuned antennae for the subtle shifts in your environment. It's about recalibrating your brain's baseline, adjusting the signal-to-noise ratio. By training your brain to recognize its own heuristic shortcuts, you can turn this potential liability into a strategic asset. Imagine being able to sift through the noise and pluck out the crucial signals. It's a Jedi mind trick for the information age, but without the robes. Enter the tightrope protocol. This isn't yoga for your mind. Rather, it's about maintaining a delicate balance between vigilance and skepticism. By periodically resetting your cognitive expectations, you can reduce the neural overhead that leads to misinterpretation. The protocol involves consciously pausing to reassess your initial reactions, effectively recalibrating your brain's predictive model. It's not about ignoring your instincts, but refining them. Are you ready to trust your brain without being a slave to its hasty conclusions? That's the tightrope you must walk. Your ability to sense that something is wrong before anyone says a word isn't just a quirky trait. It's an ancient survival mechanism. Imagine an early human gauging whether a rustling in the bushes means dinner or disaster. This instinctual detection system was never about comfort, it was about survival. Misinterpret a signal, and you could find yourself on the wrong end of a predator's lunch. So, your ancestors developed an intricate radar for social and environmental cues. It's not paranoia, it's evolution. Yet, in today's world, this primal software runs on modern hardware, often leading to overanalysis. But what was once life-saving now seems like overkill, doesn't it? The evolutionary roots of this mechanism are deeply embedded in your brain's architecture. Researchers suggest that the amygdala, a small cluster of nuclei in your brain, plays a central role in processing threats. It's your internal alarm system, finely tuned to detect danger long before your conscious mind registers it. This amygdala-driven response is involuntary, bypassing your rational cortex. It's the reason you sometimes feel an inexplicable anxiety in seemingly benign situations. Your brain is like a hyper-vigilant security guard, always ready to sound the alarm. But living in constant alert has its drawbacks. Why does it still persist in a world where the threat of a saber-toothed tiger has been replaced by the glare of a smartphone screen? Here lies the evolutionary trade-off. heightened sensitivity at the cost of constant tension. Your brain evolved to prioritize false positives over false negatives. In simpler terms, thinking there's a threat when there isn't one is less costly than ignoring a real danger. However, this hypervigilance takes a toll. Humans today experience an attentional load that can lead to chronic stress, a condition once adaptive, now maladaptive. This is the core cost. A brain wired for survival in a world where most threats are psychological rather than physical. How do you reconcile a brain that's still hunting for tigers in a jungle of emails and notifications? Yet, there's a hidden advantage in this ancient wiring. While it often feels like an unwelcome visitor, this overactive threat detection system can heighten awareness and adaptability. By learning to harness it, you can become more adept at navigating complex social dynamics. It's not about eliminating this sensitivity, but channeling it effectively. Imagine being able to read a room with laser-like precision, tuning into the unspoken undercurrents that drive human interaction. This skill isn't just a relic of the past, it's a competitive edge in the present. It's time to transform your evolutionary baggage into a toolkit for modern living. Meet the primal filter protocol. This isn't about muting your instincts, but refining them. By systematically questioning your internal alarms, you can recalibrate your brain's sensitivity settings. The protocol involves a three-step process. Acknowledge the alarm, assess the context, and adjust your response. This is not a switch you flip, it's a dial you tune. The goal is to harness your ancestral instincts without letting them hijack your peace of mind. Can you master the delicate art of discerning real threats from imagined ones? That's the challenge of the primal filter protocol. You may think your brain's constant alertness is just part of the package deal, but this hyper-awareness comes with a neurological tax. It's called cognitive friction, when your brain's predictive processing clashes with its drive for efficiency. Imagine a race car with the brakes slightly on. That's your brain, always burning more fuel than necessary. You're constantly decoding a world of what-ifs and maybes, and it drains your cognitive resources. You might call it stress, but it's more like running an obsolete operating system. Is it any wonder you're exhausted just by being awake? The science is clear. Constant vigilance rewires your brain. Researchers at the University of California have found that prolonged stress can shrink the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for decision-making and focus. This neural overhead isn't just a feeling. It's a measurable change in brain structure. When your brain is overloaded, your ability to think critically and regulate emotions diminishes. Your internal systems are designed to handle short bursts of stress, not constant bombardment. This isn't just a cognitive hiccup, it's a structural compromise. So, are you still willing to pay the price for vigilance? Here's the fatal error. Your brain's need for efficiency is at odds with its penchant for vigilance. This creates a constant tug-of-war, leading to decision fatigue and emotional burnout. You find yourself reacting rather than responding, as the brain's default mode network takes over. This is the cognitive equivalent of a computer's blue screen of death. Your brain becomes overwhelmed, and you lose the ability to process new information effectively. It's a vicious cycle that feeds on itself. The more your brain fights to control the chaos, the more chaos it creates. How do you break this cycle of self-sabotage? Surprisingly, this cognitive tension has an unrecognized upside. It forces your brain to evolve, to adapt under pressure. The trick is to channel this discomfort into growth, transforming stress into resilience. It's about re-engineering your response to cognitive friction. Think of it as stress inoculation, a psychological vaccine that strengthens your mental immune system. This isn't about avoiding stress, but engaging with it strategically. By doing so, you can convert neural overhead into cognitive capital. Are you ready to turn the burden of vigilance into a catalyst for mental agility? Introducing the Cognitive Reboot Protocol. It's about resetting your mental operating system without defaulting to chaos. The protocol involves 3 steps: pause, reflect, redirect. First, pause to disrupt the cycle of constant vigilance. Then, reflect to identify the root of cognitive friction. Finally, Redirect your focus to areas where vigilance is genuinely needed. It's like defragging your brain, optimizing neural pathways for efficiency and clarity. Can you implement a system reset that transforms vigilance from a drain to a gain? That's the challenge of the cognitive reboot protocol. You might wonder why we still possess this heightened sensitivity in a world where physical threats are rare. This acute awareness is not just a relic of the past, but a tool for the present. Your brain's ability to detect subtle shifts before they manifest into words gives you a unique psychological advantage. It's like having a backstage pass to the theater of human interaction. This isn't about reading minds, it's about reading the room. Imagine navigating social complexities with an almost unfair edge, where you see the storm brewing before the first raindrop falls. But how do you leverage this advantage without drowning in the flood of signals? Science backs up this hidden advantage. Research from the University of Cambridge shows that people with heightened sensitivity to nonverbal cues excel in emotional intelligence. This isn't just about knowing what someone is feeling, it's about predicting how they might act. Being able to anticipate these nonverbal cues allows for smoother interactions and improved relationship dynamics. Your brain functions like a finely tuned instrument, detecting the nuances in pitch and tone long before the symphony of conversation begins. But this heightened perception can be overwhelming, turning a gift into a burden if mismanaged. The fatal error in this advantage is the potential for sensory overload. Your brain's capacity to process subtle signals can lead to sensory saturation. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. The sheer volume of data can drown your cognitive processes. You become hyper-aware, and every micro-expression becomes a potential signal. This attentional load can lead to analysis paralysis, where you lose the forest for the trees. Your brain becomes so engrossed in the details that it misses the big picture. How do you prevent this sensory tsunami from capsizing your mental ship? Amidst this sensory chaos lies a strategic advantage, the ability to discern patterns others might overlook. Your brain's sensitivity can be harnessed to identify trends and shifts in behavior that aren't immediately obvious. It's not about tuning out the noise, but selectively amplifying the signals that matter. This is the art of cognitive curation. By refining your focus, you can transform potential distraction into actionable insight. Imagine being able to spot the undercurrents in a meeting before anyone else, giving you a tactical advantage. It's time to turn sensory saturation into strategic clarity. Enter the signal amplification protocol. This protocol is about transforming sensory chaos into cognitive clarity. Start by identifying key signals amidst the noise. Then, amplify those signals while diminishing irrelevant data. Apply this protocol by focusing on context, not just content. It's about training your brain to spotlight the critical elements while letting the extraneous fade into the background. Imagine the clarity of a spotlight in a crowded room, illuminating only what truly matters. Can you train your brain to amplify the right signals, creating a symphony of clarity from the cacophony of chaos? That's the challenge of the signal amplification protocol. You've got this hypertuned radar, but how do you use it without it overwhelming you? It begins by understanding that not every signal needs your attention. This is where the selective attention framework comes into play. Think of it as a mental triage system for your cognitive resources. It's about prioritizing signals based on their relevance to your current context. Your brain is like a crowded airport, with flights of thought taking off and landing. Only some need immediate clearance. The rest can circle in a holding pattern. But how do you decide what deserves priority landing? Neuroscience gives us insight into how selective attention can be harnessed. Research from the University of California suggests that focusing your attention on relevant stimuli increases neural efficiency. It's about channeling your cognitive resources like a laser beam rather than a floodlight. This means training your brain to switch from wide-angle perception to a focused zoom. By refining this ability, you can reduce neural overhead and enhance your decision-making capabilities. It's akin to sharpening a knife, making your mental processes more precise and efficient. But what does this look like in real life? The fatal error lies in misapplying this focus. When you zero in on the wrong signals, you amplify the noise rather than clarity. This is cognitive distortion, where your brain's spotlight illuminates distractions instead of insights. You might find yourself obsessing over trivial details while missing the broader narrative. This misplaced focus can lead to decision fatigue and burnout. The key is to develop a filter for your attention, much like a curator selects art for an exhibit. Your brain must learn to distinguish between the masterpiece and the clutter. Are you ready to curate your cognitive gallery? Despite the risk of misdirection, this selective focus offers a powerful advantage. By honing your attention, you can enhance your problem-solving skills, identifying solutions that others might overlook. This is the art of selective perception, seeing the unseeable, connecting the dots in a complex puzzle. By training yourself to focus on the right elements, you can turn a potential liability into a strategic asset. Imagine being able to sift through a sea of information and extract the pearls of insight. This isn't just a skill, it's a competitive edge in a world drowning in data. Implement the focused filtering protocol. This three-step method is your blueprint for mastering selective attention. First, define the context, understand the environment and the specific goals. Second, identify key signals, distinguish vital information from background noise. Finally, maintain flexibility. Be ready to adjust your focus as new data emerges. This isn't a static process. It's dynamic, like a camera lens that adjusts to capture the perfect shot. Can you master the art of focus, transforming your brain into a precision instrument for insight and action? That's the challenge posed by the focused filtering protocol. You might think all this brain talk is just theoretical fluff, but it's time to put theory into practice. Your brain's ability to sense the unsaid can be a game changer in real-world scenarios. Take the art of negotiation, for example. While others focus on spoken words, you can tune into the unspoken cues, the twitch of an eyebrow, the shift in posture. These are micro-signals, often overlooked but rich with information. Imagine closing a deal not because you had the best argument, but because you read the room better. It's not about being a mind reader. It's about being a mind mapper. But can you trust these signals to guide you in high-stakes situations? The science of nonverbal communication has practical implications. Dr. Albert Mehrabian's research indicates that 93% of communication is nonverbal. This means that the words you hear are just the tip of the iceberg. In environments where verbal communication is limited or unreliable, your ability to interpret nonverbal signals becomes critical. Consider crisis management, where every second counts. The ability to read a room quickly and accurately could make the difference between resolution and escalation. Your brain, if trained properly, can be a finely tuned instrument, detecting these subtle cues. But how do you ensure accuracy in interpreting these signals? The fatal error in application is over-reliance on nonverbal cues without context. Misinterpretation can lead to cognitive misfires, where assumptions replace facts. It's like trying to complete a puzzle with only half the pieces. Frustration mounts and clarity diminishes. Your brain might fill in gaps with its own narrative, leading to potentially costly mistakes. This is the cognitive blind spot, seeing what isn't there because you've ignored what is. Understanding context is crucial. It's not just about seeing the signals, but interpreting them within the right framework. How do you prevent this cognitive pitfall from derailing your judgment? Despite the risks, applying this nonverbal acumen can be transformative. It allows for more nuanced interactions, enhancing both personal and professional relationships. You become not just a participant, but an observer of the intricate dance of human interaction. This added depth of processing fosters empathy, enabling you to connect with others on a deeper level. Imagine leading a team where you understand not just what is said, but what is meant. This isn't just about reading others. It's about connecting the dots in real time, creating a cohesive narrative from fragmented inputs. Are you ready to elevate your interactions from transactional to transformational? Meet the contextual calibration protocol. This is your blueprint for integrating nonverbal acuity into everyday interactions. Begin by setting a baseline. understand the typical patterns of those you engage with regularly. Next, adjust your interpretations based on real-time feedback, ensuring your assumptions align with reality. Finally, integrate verbal and nonverbal cues into a cohesive understanding. It's like tuning an orchestra. Every instrument must be in harmony. Can you synchronize these signals to transform vague impressions into reliable insights? That's the challenge of the contextual calibration protocol. What if your brain's ability to detect the unsaid isn't just a personal skill, but a systemic advantage? Imagine organizations that harness this collective nonverbal intelligence, creating an environment that thrives on subtlety as much as strategy. In a world dominated by data, the greatest insights might still come from what's left unsaid. This isn't just about individuals being intuitive. It's about entire systems becoming more adaptive and responsive. Picture a workplace where meetings end with clarity, not confusion, because everyone is attuned to the unspoken undercurrents. Can organizations evolve to capitalize on this innate human ability? Research from MIT's Human Dynamics Lab shows teams that pick up on nonverbal cues outperform those that don't. Their studies reveal that successful teams communicate through a balance of verbal and nonverbal signals, leading to more creative and efficient problem solving. This isn't just about body language. It's about creating a shared rhythm of interaction. When organizations tap into this dynamic, they unlock a new dimension of collaboration. The challenge is institutionalizing this skill without stifling its natural flow. How do you formalize the informal without losing its essence? Yet, the systemic failure occurs when nonverbal intelligence is undervalued. Organizations often prioritize hard data over soft skills, leading to an imbalance where crucial insights are overlooked. This is the paradox of modern workplaces, a wealth of information, yet a poverty of understanding. By ignoring the nonverbal dimension, companies risk missing out on the nuanced signals that drive real change. It's like having a symphony and only listening to the percussion. How do you ensure that the full range of human communication is valued and integrated into decision-making processes? However, the untapped potential of nonverbal intelligence can reshape organizational culture. By fostering an environment where these skills are nurtured, businesses can achieve a more holistic approach to problem solving. It's about creating spaces where intuition is as valued as analysis. This cultural shift requires leaders who can model and encourage sensitivity to nonverbal cues, turning them into a strategic asset. Imagine a company where meetings are not just about agendas, but about connecting on a deeper level. This isn't just a cultural change, it's a paradigm shift. Will organizations seize this opportunity to evolve? Introducing the Systemic Sensitivity Protocol. This is a framework for embedding nonverbal intelligence into organizational practices. Start by training teams to recognize and interpret nonverbal signals. Next, integrate this awareness into decision-making processes, ensuring that every voice, spoken or unspoken, is heard. Finally, cultivate a leadership style that values empathy and intuition as core competencies. This isn't a one-time initiative, but an ongoing commitment to evolving communication. Can your organization adapt to harness the silent symphony of nonverbal cues, transforming them into a strategic advantage? That's the ultimate challenge of the Systemic Sensitivity Protocol.